Hello everyone. We're going to study Tongdosa Temple today. This is first chapter. Um, Tongdosa Temple is in Yangsan, one of a Buddhist temple, enshrines Buddha's relics and sari. Its front and the back is narrow. The center is concentrated. We call this Yeonjuk Mountain, Yeonjuk-san. It's background of this temple. Located on the right, and the valley is closely attached to the left. So the width of the temple site is very narrow. You see the pictures up there. Because of this narrow and long sides between mountains and the valleys, it is not possible to apply it as it is. And it maintains the axis of the north and the south, and has a peculiar Biroam arrangement extending from the east to the west. The shadow of the morning suns. As you see the pictures, we see the morning sun comes up. As we listen to the sounds of the morning chanting, we feel the majesty of the pine trees exposed in the light. In the unshakable darkness, it moves to Daeungjeon through Cheonangmun Gate and the Paradise Hall. 영산전, 약전, 관음전. These plays to very well organized with the nature together. The shadow of the morning sun rises above the pine trees to move through the forest, and in a short enough time to hold your breath. The red sun escapes the pine forest and rises into the sky. The shape of the pine forest is vertical structures. As you see the pictures, the pine trees, right? That is equally distributed to the visual weight. And this gives you a natural and stable feelings, emotions. Among the vertical structures, not horizontal, vertical structures such like this, the rules, the balances are unstable, but very symmetrical balances in the same radial shapes are repeated around the central vertical axis. These can be seen in many natural environments. So we feel very stable and calm, dignified, and sometimes very quiet moments. However, if you look at the forest in detail, unlike the far forest of Tongdosa Temple, not like a Tongdosa, each has its own flexible vertical, not pine trees of the same shapes. The symmetrical vertical forms, such like this, in a symmetrical balance, give a sense of stability and unique beauty through the interaction of the pine trees. These are not identical individual arrangements, but not similar in the form. It gives a more active, interesting, passionate, and individual feeling compared to perfect symmetrical balance. As you see, very symmetrical, balanced weekend. Let's see the skin of the pine tree, the bark of the trees, right? The crude and natural appearance of the pine bark. Sometimes it catches our eyes. It is the skin of the pine trees with irregular shapes in contrast to its vertical structures. Building materials such as fabric and tiles. These materials express the textures and delicate structure of the pine skins contain these characteristic of the nature, revealing all the structure secrets of the pine skins. Irregular shapes are very clear, delicate, and interesting materials. So it becomes like are putting in a new materials. There's how another technique evolves and is inherited. It's an interesting way for designers as well, allowing them to see their tradition in a new light. They all looked sincere because they received the scenery of the nature in one body. It becomes like whole one body, harmonized body. The clear energy felt in them is by no means second to the neatness of the certain elements of the nature. It stayed up all night. You can feel the feeling of coming to Buddhism more deeply from the pine trees, not from the temple. There's a very old traditional temple. You see the pictures. So we feel the echo in this space. This is Daeungjeon with the Kumgang stairs in the south. In the west, Daebang Wangjeon. Jeokjakbo Gung. It's north place. Daeungjeon in the east side. So in the east side, the Daeungjeon Hall is very beautiful and delicate, majestic, from each staircase to a window frame. Let's move into inside of the Daeungjeon. We see in three pictures very specific details. We can look at this. It's immortal masterpieces such as murals, Buddhist altars, the flower gate, canopy, dancheong. As you know, dancheong is very colorful, right? This is one of the wooden building design techniques, beautifully decorated with dark colored patterns on the inside and outside of traditional wooden structures such as temples and palaces. So these kind of dancheong are in the delicacy of the interior of the ceilings. It is magnificent and unique with its magnificent and skilled beauty, comparable to Michelangelo's. This is one of famous masterpieces. Michelangelo's creation of the heaven. This is a fresco on the ceiling of the Sistine Chapel, one of the famous Vatican Palace. There's a Sistine Chapel. It is a masterpiece, absolutely, and decorated with strict geometric symmetry and golden colored sky flowers. Repetitive reverberations in a spiritual space. Fire but his staff connected to the every word and vigorous movements of a dragon riding on each side of the beams. In architecture, you see the picture in the center. You see another masterpiece here. It is common to express hierarchies in the form of the size, shape, location, interior grandeurs, and decorations, and color management, in order to provide device that clearly distinguishes it from other Buddhist buildings. A lotus flower with a high sense of volume is engraved on each place at the base end, and metaphysical reinterpretations is sculpted on the boundary stone of the stairs so strongly suggested. The windows also designed with special care. The form of a peony, lotus, and some kind of details is idealized in the form of the ideological abstractions. Try to avoiding the direct meaning of the flowers, but there's no change in the central concept of the flowers. Very meaningful. Very meaningful. Okay, let's move to small things above traditional tile roof. We call this Yeonjabong. Can you see the small parts above on the top of the roof? On the roof tile of the Daeungjeon Hall, you will face the lotus peak. Looks like white water drop pattern. This is kind of the porcelain above the roof of the Daeungjeon Hall is called Yeonjabong and symbolize Tongdosa Temple. Along with Kumgang stairs with the lotus patterns. Tongdosa Temple's Yeonjabong is white porcelain and it sits harmoniously and very quietly with lotus-shaped bowers on the roof and the ridges. When you see, very closely look at this Yeonjabong. Yeonjabong was used as a cover to the cover. Because it had a poor appearance due to the nails after fixing it on the roof tile. They just cover for something in a bad shapes. However, the Buddha's house, Daeungjeon Hall, has magnificent Buddhist meanings, emphasizing more, meticulous care. You can feel the sense of meticulous. You see, this surprise things, they try to cover, but not just for small things, They put their heart in there. As you know, there are many types of designs used as covers to cover the nails. There are many Japanese, nanako. You see first pictures. First to the left. And the next to right. In European Victorian style, floral designs have been produced while maintaining the traditions of each country. As materials, you see, if you think about the materials, harmony seems to be enough. Even if we don't talk anymore, this is very surprising things, When looking at the feast of the subjective roof tiles, the in-center Yeonjabong, whether the tiles are subjective or the Yeonjabong is subjective, it is not very important from the perspective of the viewer. They respect each other's, how there. The decorative element, which is the raw of the nail cover, is not very important to show the beauty of the white porcelains. Yeonjabong is milky white, very very special white, close to creams, the soft and has a large shoulder or heel shapes, and descending line stops sharply, giving a feeling of dignity and trust also. The gritty, pure volume, a typical round curved lines express familiarity and loveliness. For some reasons, Yeonjabong was more worried about Earth, not to feel sorry for Earth, So actually, these small things respect Earth a lot, We should appreciate all of things. Nice sketches. The extraordinariness of the shrine. There are many small temples we call the shrines. You can see extraordinaries of Yonghwajeon and Seojeon Peacock. These two famous small temples. Two full-length buildings are overlapped and located as if they are hidden. And in Jungnojeon, which is the second to the right temple, 3 halls are lined up toward the south. The overlapping engravings are not immediately noticeable. Can see this, but each is playing a role. They have their own role in these locations. They are all respected. They show respect for each other in a subtle way. Let's move to the ceiling of the shrine. If you looking up the ceilings, um, we call this Biroam shrines. So this is Biroam shrines. There are elephants, tigers, elephant tiger shapes supporting the beams, the structures, right? And dragons in every corner. If you look closely at the ceiling of the Biroam, there is an interesting appearance. Slant members carved the shape of a tiger and an elephant, symbolic animals of the Buddhism, support the small beams. Very incredible. Our tradition is to arrange sculptures or drawings of animals. These always symbolize species images and express sadness to animal, plant, wave patterns, auspicious clouds, and characters, and try to coexist with nature. If you look, three pictures, Biroams, very cute, items shown up, with designer Philip Stocks. Philip Stock, he is very famous architect, also industrial designer, interior designer. He is famous, total designers. So he designed these furniture. He named Li Qian Servant. So first pictures, and the second pictures, Daniel Lewis. It looks like a bear, right? Bear table. And third, the David Erickson's whale cabinet. This cabinet also, have another functions, the partitions, right? These cabinets are inspired by animal figures, and human bodies. It is worked sensationally well expressed. Many designers obtain from the nature, from abstract shapes to geometric shapes. And materials are wood, aluminiums, and recently plastic, and reinterpreted from a modern and futuristic perspective. They apply, with different kinds of ideas. Animals in nature have a very mysterious and interesting concepts that can be a visual compositions. Morning with the scenery. We see, very special door frames. Looks like another pictures, right? Every morning we see a very different view of the sceneries, such as like two pictures. Crepe myrtles. It looks as if crepe myrtles is crossing a fence or holding a temple. Tree holding a temple or tree next to a temple. This depends, right? In the morning, when the fresh air of the dawn and the power of the sunrise shines, the scenery that goes well with the temple grounds is expressed Before we think about whether morning comes first or crepe murder comes first, doesn't matter, right? It seems that the friendship is so thick, the others are loved. The color of the flower is vivid and rich. It blooms in various ways from small flowers to large flowers. See the second picture's bottom? There's our water lilies, white water lilies, right? Water lilies are blooming for a long time. We call it the paradise ponds, and radiating light. The light surface of the water and the leaves of the water lilies, so, fantastic. The heart of the morning, since Tongdosa Temple is always light regent. Plum blossom that opens spring. If you go Tongdosa Temple's plum blossom. These plum trees, they're more than 370 years old trees. It's the first plum trees to inform the Korea of the spring news. The first spring comes. The cold winter breeze falls into the form of the red plum blossoms, blooming in layers and disappears. In plum blossoms, each flower contains its own universe. Red plum blossoms radiate a fresh match no matter where you are in the background of the door frame and a tile. The red plum blossoms buds, the top part, right? The red plum blossom buds turn red like peachy blossoms, attract us even much red. The red plum blossom can be used as a violin, makes sharp sounds, sometimes a cello that conveys profound sounds. Let's talk about the art in the history. The plum blossom is a good expression of the beauty and the scholarship of our nations, especially in Korea. See, old Korean paper, there's a plum blossom tree is left, and then written in the right. The calm nature through the indigo color is more beautiful than the colorful colors. This is why it's attractive, right? The plum blossoms paintings. This is one of famous painter Lee Gong-woo. We can find this in his Western style pairing book. These plum blossoms painting express a dynamic scene of life by reminding of the visual rhythm and auditory sounds. The flowers blooming in the spirit of the scholar, plums, well described. True beauty is a fragrance of the face, not the scene decorative. The sincerity does not lose its scene even when it rains and the wind blows. Such beauty has the power, cannot be erased. Okay, this is first part of the Tongdosa. I hope you enjoy in these lectures, and see you in the next chapter soon. Thank you very much.